Hi, welcome to the second module of Fundamentals of MS Excel. In this particular module, we'll have three sessions. The first one will concentrate on worksheet operations, like working with multiple workbooks, moving, copying worksheets from one file to another, inserting, deleting rows, clearing contents, hiding, unhiding columns and tabs. In the second session, we'll discuss cells and ranges. We'll introduce ranges and we'll also discuss a go-to functionality which can be used to identify specific cells in an Excel file. The third session of this module will focus on tables and the benefits of tables with respect to an ordinary data set. Now, when you are working on Excel, it's not always necessary that all of your data will be stored in one Excel file. So you might have to open two or three or maybe more Excel files. Over here, I'll discuss some of the easiest ways by which you can move from one Excel file to another. Now, the first way is if you're using a mouse, go to the toolbar and look at the different Excel files which are open and then select the file which you want. So let's say I want to select all courses. Now, the second way is if you're not using your mouse, then you can use your keyboard and press on Control key and then the Tab key, and you can alternate across the various files you have opened. The third option is that you go to the view group and over here go to switch windows. You can see all the different Excel files which are open and you can select module 1 toolbars, then another file opens. What if I select book 2? Another file opens. What if I select all courses 1? My first file gets open now. Now if you want to close a file, you can either go to the file group and then click on close, or you can just press the cross button over here. Now, if the file is not saved on a system, then the Excel will always prompt you to save or don't save, depending upon whether you need it or not. You can click on save. Because I don't need this file right now, and just click on don't save. Now, working with multiple workbooks at the same point of time is fine, and we've just discussed three ways by which you can move from one Excel file to another. But what if I want to look at all these workbooks at the same point of time on my screen? For that, I will go to view group and I will click on arrange all. If I click on tiled, it will give me all the Excel files which are open and it will divide them into different tiles. To escape from this view, just you'll have to go to each of these files one by one and click on maximize next to the cross button over here. There are other options also. Let's look at one more option. Let's look at the vertical option. It divides the screen and puts them all vertical. Now let's say I've got this graph over here based on the employees data, and this is in the file all courses, and I want to move it to the file module 1 toolbar which has that data. So what I'll do is I'll go to all courses, I'll go to the sheet which consists this graph, I'll do a right click and I'll click on move, and over here I'll get an option to which book. Do I want to move it to module 1 which consists of the employee data? Do I want to move it to the third Excel file which is currently open, or do I want to move it to a completely new Excel file? Let's say I click on module 1 toolbar, and let's say I want to keep a copy of this particular tab in this file also. So I'll click on create a copy. As you can see, the tab has moved to the file which consists of the employee data, and you can still see that the sheet which consists of the chart is still there in all courses 1. If while moving the tab, if I hadn't clicked on create a copy, then the tab would not have been in the all courses 1 file. Now, doing a right click, we had discussed some of the options like insert, delete, rename in the first module. Now let's look at hide and unhide. So as the name suggests, hide, if I click on hide, it will hide this particular tab. Similarly, if I click on unhide, it will give me the list of all the tabs which I have hidden in this particular file, and clicking on say sheet 2, it will open the tab which I had hidden. Now in the previous module, we had also discussed about inserting and deleting columns or rows using the delete and insert commands on the home group. You can do the same functionalities using your mouse also. So supposedly I want to insert a column before B. So I select this column B, I do a right click of my mouse and I click on insert. It will insert a column before B. And if I want to delete this column, I click on the column, I select that column, do a right click and then click on delete. Similarly, I can insert a row. Let's say I want to insert a row before employee D. I select the entire row, do a right click, click on insert, and a row gets inserted. I can now delete this also by just selecting the entire row and clicking on delete. If I do a right click of my mouse over the rows or columns, I get the following menu. We've already looked at the cut, copy, paste options and insert and delete we've just discussed. If I do a clear content, it will not delete the column or the row, but it will just clear the contents. If I do a undo or a control Z just to show it again. So right now I've got in row 8 G and $1,200 by selecting this row, doing a right click, clear contents. The contents get deleted. The row does not get deleted. If the row would have got deleted, H, I, J, K, L, all they would have shifted one row above. So let's do a control Z again. Now let's do a right click and look at the other options. Row height. Right now it is 15. Let's see what happens if we change it to 10. The row height reduces. And what if it is kept at 100? It increases. So you can play around with the row height. Similarly, you can play around with the column width as well. Currently the width is 8.43. Let's say if I want to increase it to 12, it just broadens a bit. Again, let's do a right click. Hide and unhide options are very similar to what we had just looked at for the tabs. So let's say I want to hide the information for these three employees. I select these rows, I do a right click and select hide. So I can see over here that there is a gap after the 5th row and before the 9th row. If I want to unhide them, I select row 5 and 9, do a right click and unhide. Similarly, I can do the same operation on a column as well. Hide it, and if I want to unhide it, then I unhide it. Now when we'll move on to the next video, we'll discuss about cells and ranges. I've also given some exercises for you to practice so that you get more comfortable with this. Thank you.